Let's assume that we had made a survey among 350 men and women using iPhones. And the sample showed us that the average age of men was 23.2, whereas the average age of women was only 20.6 years. If we assume that the standard deviation of both sexes is 5 years, then the first question is to calculate a 95% confidence interval for the age of women and men using an iPhone. So to answer that question, let's go to the blueprints we have here. We are clearly in the average part of the blueprints, and the first question is the variance based on a sample? In this case, it is not. In most cases it is, but in this case we are assuming that the standard deviation is 5 years. So here we are, you can say, given that this is an information we have to believe. At least it is not based on this data we have here. So based on this, we have to say no to this question here, and we can go straight down to the set confidence interval. And from here, it's just to open up the StatLearn calculator. You can just download it from the website or the homepage. And here you can see that on 3.1, we have the set confidence interval here. Sorry, the interval here with a known population variance, right? And mu means the population average. So this is the one we want. Click here. And we had 350, right? So that was the, sorry, I'll just make it a bit bigger here. That was the sample size, and the average was 23.2 with a standard deviation of 5. Be very careful about the standard deviation. Sometimes in an exam or in you might meet this information with a variance instead of the standard deviation. And if that is the case, if we had that the variance was given as 25 here, we would of course take the square root to arrive at the standard deviation. But just make sure that you just focus and make sure that you get it right here if it says variance, okay? So the input figure for StatLearn is standard deviation, not variance. It's 95, so that's fine. We have the variable defined. It's the age of men using iPhones. Here we have the data, we have the formula, and this is the interesting part here. This is the interval. Now the interval tells us that there is a 95% probability that the average age of men using an iPhone is between 22.6 or 0.7 and 23.7 years. So that is the average for men lying in this interval here. And for women, we are just going to, before we do anything, we're just going to copy this part here. Just gonna paste it. Let me see if I can just paste it here as like this. Do we have, I don't know why it's not giving me this here. Doesn't matter, we can do it differently. We can just copy with the scissor tool here. We'll just go in here like this, and we can just paste it in here. Make it slightly bigger. Yeah, like this, okay? At least we can see the interval here. So now we are going back to the StatLearn program, and we're just gonna change it so it's the women now. That was 20.6. And we make sure that we redefined the variable to be women. And now we see that the interval, of course, has changed because the average has changed. And this gives us the following interval. There is a 95% probability that the average age of women is between 20 and 21.1 or 20.1 years and 21.1 years. So that is the interval for women. And in question 2, here we were asked if we, based on these two confidence intervals, can say that the male users on average are older than the female users. So if we compare, and I'm sure you have guessed how you would do it, but let's just see here. So the lower limit for men is 22.7, right? That is the lower limit of the average age of men. Still, that lower limit is higher than the upper limit for women. So that tells us that the lowest possible value of the average age of men is higher than the highest possible average value of women. So that tells us that we could say, based on these two confidence intervals, that the average age of men is higher than the average age of women.